So Carnaby's Crusaders, we're now in our fourth year as a not-for-profit. The first 3 years were pretty challenging, starting with no money, no assets, no capital of any kind. So largely, I've funded everything required out of my own pocket for the charity. As a kid, my dad bred beautiful Australian finches, Gordians and stars, and parrot finches and some of the other exotics. And I would find myself just getting lost watching these beautiful birds. You know, they're just so stunning. So I was always interested in birds. It kind of lit the spark in me. Fast forward, you know, kind of 30-something years from there, moving to an area where Carnabys were very, very active. Those two things, you know, my childhood and moving out to kind of Bindoon in the Shire of Chittering were the two catalysts for really driving what I do these days. And none of the birds have actually been bought through the charity. They all kind of belong to me on my own private license. We get donated a lot of birds. In total, we have around 110 currently. We have about 65 black cockatoos that form the basis of our kind of educational flock. We generally present an hour session where kids get to see these beautiful birds up close. They get to learn about the challenges that they're facing. The big thing for most people is, you know, seeing them up close really captivates them, and kids are no different. These birds are stunning. They're beautiful. The ones that we take are interactive. They're very receptive to being handled and patted, which kids love. They are really the educational ambassadors, and yeah, their role is incredibly important because they have the capacity to recruit people to the cause, keep them still while we talk for an hour and explain why they are so important to our environment, and the threats that they're facing. They are an incredibly iconic species that exists nowhere else on the planet. They are iconic to Western Australia in our Carnabys, their forgotten cousins, the Borden's black cockatoo, and our beautiful forest redtails, the three species that live in the southwest of WA. Nowhere else in the world can you find an endangered species that lives in suburbia and exists on our doorstep. They are being starved to death and are derived of the habitat that they rely on. Large percentage of their population rely on the Swan Coastal Plain. Within the Swan Coastal Plain, that is Perth and Peel, Mandurah. That unfortunately has changed dramatically over the last 200 years, where the Swan Coastal Plain has been urbanised, and these birds are now really struggling to exist. The 2013 Black Cockatoo Recovery Plan, all 4 measurable objectives were a fail. The barren, desolate landscape that is now the Gnangara Pines, the government harvested that through 23 and 24, and that resulted in huge loss of Carnabys. The population dwindled much further. It gets to the point where they are so disjointed and the numbers, contract so quickly that they'll be on the edge of extinction. So it's really important to save the remaining habitat and increase and revegetate and return other areas to viable habitat. These birds need trees that are 200 plus years old to breed in. So it's going to be a very, very long recovery. The artificial tube design is very robust, and they're expected to last in the vicinity of 40 to 50 years with a little bit of maintenance. $600 will get you an artificial hollow installed, and that will also include me monitoring it for 2 years. And they are incredibly important, obviously, as far as keeping the population healthy, because there are simply so few natural hollows left out there. Even the small remaining population that we have is still beyond the scope of what natural hollows are available to them. But over and above their natural beauty is their important role that they play in the environment. But they've been here for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. We need to accommodate them rather than exclude them in our urban footprint. That is what's vitally important. Having the interaction and the relationship that I have with these beautiful captive birds is magic, but also seeing the impact that we can have on the wild population and seeing that the young that fledge from our installations, that is plenty motivation enough for me. I absolutely love it.